Reece didn't mean to start the fire. If he had seen the embers, he would have smothered them. He was a murderer, not a monster. His target had asked for a cigarette, and since it was his last few moments, Reece obliged. Afterwards, he had picked up the cigarette and flicked it away in the dark forest around him. He thought it was out. The man said he had finished it. In hindsight, it was a bad idea. But too late, unfortunately. It wasn't until he had reached the end of the long, winding, and lonely road through the forest, until he was back on the highway, when he finally noticed the orange glow from deep within. Reece even pulled over to an old payphone, surprised to see these things still around, and called the fire department. He never used his name, just gave a warning. He stayed anonymous. The hitman felt guilt over that. Not the killing, but the fire. Confident with the abilities of the local firefighters, he pulled into his hotel, turned on the lights, watched some television, ate a crappy frozen burrito he bought for $1.50 from the vending machine, and lay down to go to sleep. He woke to the sounds of shouting and pounding on his door. "Fire!" the voice yelled. "Fire! Everyone out now!" He moved quick as always in emergencies, had his bag already packed, and was out the door. The heat hit him first. Then he noticed the wall of roaring fire moving across the road. Ash fell from the sky as he opened his car door, got in, turned the key, and began to drive. He followed the procession of cars trying to gain distance from the fire, closely hugging the bumper of the van in front of him. They were from Washington State. Their license plate was a play on words. RUN4EVR. He had it all memorized by the time they finally turned, and everyone was free to drive away. Reece felt the weight at this point. It was in his gut. He secretly hoped no one had been injured. Or worse. The hitman drove and drove and drove, all the way to his brother's place outside of LA. A nice home. Expensive. His brother, obviously surprised to see him, especially at this hour, still allowed him entry into his home. He sat down and took the offered drink his brother poured for him, before reaching for the remote to turn the TV on. It was all over the news already. The raging wildfire that was spreading unlike any ever before. Despite their best efforts, the hell jumpers were unable to smother the blaze. And in the process, 2 were lost in the fire. Shit, Reece mumbled under his breath and closed his eyes. Fuck me. He was not just a killer of innocents now, but a killer of heroes. He felt the guilt. It was worse this time. It made it harder for him to fall asleep that night. His dreams were of smoke and flame and ash, of a world on fire. Everyone burned, yet still stood, exactly where the fire had taken them. They all stared at him. He could smell them. Smell the burning flesh, smell the burning wood and bone and metal and when Reece woke, he could smell it still. It lingered. Came from his dream. Such a strong smell. And then he coughed. And again. That's when he realized he could see the glow through the curtains. No, he muttered to himself. No way. The man moved to the curtains quickly and threw them open. There before him was the fire. It had followed him. Even in shock, he still yelled out for his brother, who now emerged from his room, coughing and coughing. They both began to run down the stairs to the garage when the front door seemed to explode inwards from the chaos outside. The rolling heat wave hit them at the end of the hallway, and moments later, The fire followed. It was moving quick. They were forced to turn and ascend the same stairs again, frantically searching for an escape, fear gripping them. "Out the window!" his brother yelled to him, pointing at the window at the end of the hall. Reese's eyes flicked back to the flames coming up the stairs, curling and reaching like hands. His brother went first, landing wrong and hurting his foot, but still able to limp to his garage and start his car. Reece dropped down next, and just barely. The fire managed to lick his arm, which caused the hitman to recoil and lose his grip. Luckily, he dropped onto the roof of the car with a thud. "Hold on!" his brother yelled through the opening sunroof as he floored it through the front gate. Reece held tight as they crashed into the metal, and when they were clear, dropped through the opening and into the passenger seat. His eyes, wide and bloodshot, glanced back at his brother's house. Burning. It had been a couple of days since the fire started, yet it showed no sign of stopping. Quite the opposite, in fact. It was still spreading. Bigger and bigger it grew, and now more deadly. 17 people were dead now. 17 more people to visit him at night when he shut his eyes. Or kept them open. Didn't make a difference. And now, the fire was still moving, and it was coming this way. His way. It's impossible, he had thought to himself. The fire couldn't actually be following me. But it was. No matter where the man went, the hospital he dropped his brother off, the gas station to grab a quick, cheap, and nasty coffee, the church he thought about stepping into, but didn't. It followed. It followed in his footsteps. Wherever he walked, it burned like some kind of brand or signature. He set the world on fire, and he felt the guilt. 34 people now haunted him as he slept. They gave no warning when the fire reached his resting place. Why would they? If they had to burn, then he should too. The man thought, maybe, just maybe, if I put enough distance, maybe if I crossed the ocean? But when he reached that ocean, all the way on the other side of the country, and stood, toes in the sand and waves washing over his feet, he could still see it on the news, burning its way across America. He knew it was coming for him. For them. He now stood with the others. 87 now. No more, he thought to himself. I may be a murderer, but I am not a monster. He began to drive back, to meet it halfway. Reece pulled into a nice little spot next to a lake and waited. And waited. And waited. Until finally, he could see the rising smoke in the day and the dull orange glow in the black of night. He waited, watched as the rain turned to ash, and waited. The wildfire slowly began to creep over the ridge in front of his eyes. Reece pulled from his pocket his last cigarette, lit it, inhaled, waited, waited. The heat had reached him, and the man exhaled.